Hey, good morning, Martin.
How are
Hi.
you? How are you?
I am well. I'm well. I'm drinking coffee with superfood added.
Nice.
Yeah, getting things going. Sun is about to peek right over this line of trees. So if I get blinded, I might have to pull a shade. But hey,
Sounds rough.
right.
Sounds
I
like
know.
just
I'm
like
blessed to see
just
the sun. Yeah, no, glad to be here. Thank you so much.
amazing. Where are you located again? I can't remember. We
I'm
talked
in,
about this before.
yeah, Santa Barbara,
Santa
California.
Barbara.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. It's pretty nice here.
Yes. And see
Yeah.
your people coming into the thread here. And there's Jason
Hey.
Williams.
Hey, Jason. Yeah, nice to be here. And not to take it right over from you, but
Please. Yes.
I just love what you were doing this weekend, that you got so transported back into your own work and what you have cultivated and what you've done, that you were submerging yourself in your being of that, yeah, cool. I don't know where to go with that.
No,
Congratulations for all that.
well, thank you. I mean, let's talk about that for a second because
Yeah.
I think that you know what I one of my takeaways from that was I made a point to reach out to people and um, encourage them. I mean, sometimes we get so caught up in this conversation and the next person. I try and pull pieces out. I do my best to live in this moment as much as I can,
Yeah.
but then I have to prepare for tomorrow and I'm preparing for the next day. But then I have someone have a conversation, and then your name may come up, and then it's like, okay, well, that's cool that Amy had this impact on that person. I'm making a purpose to circle back to the Amy's and say, hey, just so you know, I talked to so and so, and they just mentioned you.
Mm.
I think that people need that encouragement and just that reminder that they're actually making a difference.
Yeah, I think so too. And when we were speaking about what would we kind of talk about, or the various things we could talk about, I feel like not even just that this whole last year has been a thing for everybody, but it has. And for me personally, it's been a huge year of lots of transition, a lot of things that just were absolutely out of my control.
Hmm.
So it really allowed me to surrender and slow down and allow
Yes.
myself to some days have nothing on the I have to get this stuff accomplished list, which is really different for me because
Yes.
I like lists. I like to check things off. I like that feeling, but I
Yes.
also want to bring in another feeling of what does it feel like to not have that on my shoulders,
Yes.
and embrace it and just like be with that.
Yes.
Or if I have the big list, go, yep, that'll be there tomorrow.
Love
Today
it.
it's really beautiful and I want to go outside, or
Yes.
circle back to projects that I've done before and relive the feeling of satisfaction on something that was also, you know, uh, yeah, I don't know. I just think there's
Yeah.
so much doing that we're missing some of
Yes.
the essence of just sitting still and letting something come in instead of always going for it that way.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your studio and the transitions as well within that? Because I'm sure that definitely informed what you just said there as well, right?
Yeah. Sure, I will. And I apologize a little bit, not so much, but I have a little cute white dog that might woof, woof, occasionally as she hears things outside. But yeah, so my studio in Santa Barbara was last year in our 19th year, and
Mm,
I was really ready to have a big final party celebrating 20 years. That would have been this April, like right now.
yeah.
Um, and I really wanted to be done with it at that time, like an official ending of 20 years, not re-sign a lease again, just
Mm,
put a cap on it.
yeah.
And I had all the thoughts about how to do that. And then COVID happened, and it just was like, oh no, I can't do the party that I want to do. And teachers were starting to shift their what they needed in their lives. They were not going to come back. They told me, hey,
Mm,
my life needs to be at home, or I'm going to start something in my own home studio. Kind of, it's time for me to do that.
yes.
All of that was the reality. But slowly it was, my business was getting peeled down to, this is not going to work anymore in this
Yes.
way. Having a
Right.
large 3,000 square foot studio, lots of group classes all day long, lots of people
Right.
renting space. It just clearly wasn't going to happen. So surrender was the word. And I made a big, hard decision to close the studio at the end of October, sold a bunch of equipment, let people kind of start doing that for themselves. And so the month of November literally for me was, who am I? What do I do
Yes.
now?
That was the question I was going to have. There's a whole identity crisis that
Oh,
comes into that.
a big one, a big one. And I didn't, I guess I didn't realize how much of my identity was studio owner in Santa Barbara.
Mm,
I knew it, but maybe didn't know it. I don't know. So November was just a really kind of ethereal veil of time for me, and uncomfortable. I will be very honest,
really?
incredibly uncomfortable. There have been a lot of uncomfortable times since the closing, because
Yeah,
again,
define
I was so,
uncomfortable. Like uncomfortable in what way? Like,
oh, well, just like, who am I? What do I do now?
mhm.
Where are the clients? I mean, I've been Zooming, so it's fine. I've got a good group of people on Zoom, but that feeling of, are they really going to come back in person? What if they don't? Will I be okay if they don't? Maybe it's fine that they're making a transition. Maybe that's what I needed, to just go, oh, nothing to do today. That's not really true. I have
Right.
lots going on all the time, but in comparison to what the mindset was like every day.
Yes.
Um, so, but as it's been unraveling, it's been a very sweet thing, because I've taken some really deep breaths, which I needed to do, and just
Good.
slowed down.
Yes.
And where I really feel my work is going is in that realm of teaching people that it's okay to slow down and embrace that. And whether that's a Pilates practice that's slow, not that I want to do everything so slow, I want to make sure that's not true,
Right.
but get into their parasympathetic system a little bit and really heal that, because I think we've all been on a
Yeah, treadmill.
treadmill, the wheel, the spinning wheel, and
Yes.
maybe the stress of last year, although it maybe didn't hit everybody the same way, I think the current of stress that we all have been managing is pretty big. And I think
Absolutely.
it could come out in people that, yeah, a human practice to slow down. Exactly, Stacy.
Yes.
Right. And a whole nother way to practice our work. Slow
Right.
down.
As you're saying that, I think of like Maria Earl, Brooke Seiler, some people who basically just like upped and left, like they kind of just change, and obviously there's a sense of burnout or exhaustion, but there's also this, um, yeah, like Trey's saying, or get off
Totally.
the hustle bus, right? Like sometimes we see that coming and we can react, and other times we're still pushing right past that line. So I'm listening to my body and also looking around, and it's almost like you can see when people are just about to just say, you know what, I'm going to take a break
Yeah.
from, I'm just going to sign out of life for a week, 2 weeks, or all of a sudden they just go completely dark, and then they come back and say, I just took some time off and now I'm back. People are doing it in different ways.
Right.
And as much as we preach self-care here on social media every day, in some way, shape, or form, we say that, but how good are we really at applying it to our lives is the question.
That's a great question. And right, everyone is going to do it differently. Some people self-care is, I don't even want to go into that. I know what mine has been, which is just to slow down and to
Mhm.
just not push. I think that's my big thing to myself, is
Yes.
pushing, pushing to get that class filled, pushing to get that project
Yes.
done, pushing. And that is, over time, extremely exhausting.
Right.
And I think others will, right. Yeah.
And we have
Other people are
yes
going to
and yes.
identify. Yeah. Right. Yes, it is. Um, so, right. And we know we have to do self-care.
Mhm.
Of course we do. We
Mhm.
tell that to our clients, we tell that to our friends and children, but how are we doing it for ourselves? It's different. And I think the unplugging from social media is a really good start for a lot of us. It's not like we're
Yes.
going away. We're all
We're still
here.
alive.
Yeah, we're here. We might just
Yeah.
take a weekend off or something. And
Mhm.
I don't know. I just think it's really healthy, or even a month off, or
Yeah, great.
yeah.
Let's circle back to the identity piece, because I thought of one of my clients. I've had her since 2002. I've been training this one lady, and it's personal training. And as I learn Pilates, she's been with me on this Pilates journey. Whatever it is that I'm learning, she's learning.
Yeah.
There was a point when she was retiring. She was a principal at a school, and I remember for like a year leading up to it in her retirement year, and then once she retired, this whole identity crisis that she was going through, the whole who am I, what do I do, who do I become when I'm not seen as this teacher, this Pilates instructor, this whatever it is that we're doing. That identity piece, I love exploring that, because that really, we get ourselves wrapped up in so much of what we do, and we never really took the time to build our brand around who we are.
Right. I'm going to pull the shade because the sun's starting to get you just kind of hit it. Is like, again, we get kind of tied up in all the things we do, but
Yes.
Are we really being in that doing?
Yep.
Am I really who I want to be in all of my doing matter and stuff? And that's
Right.
kind of what has surfaced for me after with the studio is, was I, and I am truly Amy Havens as a studio owner, but now it's like, ooh, who do I get to really welcome in now? What part of that I might step forward,
Right.
And
that's the question. Yes.
Yeah. And did I, she's been in there all the while, but maybe I didn't have enough time because I was doing all those other things. So I think that's the beautiful thing about some of these transitions is like,
Sure.
oh, that's the pearl, there it is. And it just illuminates now. So
Right.
I think the identity thing is a big one for a lot of people when they make a transition from a job or like mine, closing the studio or doing something different.
Right.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And it's a high level conversation that we have to have with ourselves, because now it's like, okay, now that I have this space, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be this. Did you notice that what you wanted to give expression to was different than what was coming out?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that's been also like okay, wow. Okay. Now I get to do something with that. How will that grow? How much water do I need to pour on that to make it really flourish? And I use the analogy a lot with myself, or the metaphor of a garden, and just, if I want a big lush garden, I better, put lots of seeds and get going and all that. Or do I want to just start with one beautiful seed first? Look at it, watch it grow. How much do I need to pluck off? And let that do its really organic. It might be slower. The grow might be slower than, but it might be more of an essence of what really is where I'm going. So if that resonates for anyone, I'm not sure, but yeah.
I love the word cultivate.
Yeah, it's a good word.
It's a good word.
Yeah, thank you.
Because really what you're saying there is like, you can't actually make that seed grow. You can just create the environment, you can give it water, you can make sure that it's like you're just cultivating this environment for it to actually happen, but you can't make it happen.
Not really. No, I don't think so. I think it's also the energy and the intention around, what does it need? What do I need from that? What do I need from that seed to grow? What's it going to grow into? I don't know. Like I said, do I need it to grow fast? Do I need it to go slow? Do I need it to have lots of petals on it, or just a few? I mean, we can't make it. If it's going to, it's going to.
Right.
That's the pushing thing again.
Yes, exactly. And we're trained to do that because you ran a studio and you had people working for you and you had like bills to pay, and you had to be the janitor and the person who opens the place and so you did all that for so long. I saw you just shiver just
Yeah,
reliving
oh
that.
my God. How many hats did I have to like take
Right.
off? Yeah, thank you. Whoa, you felt that one, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. You just like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
that's it's a good moment. This is so good to be here.
Yeah,
Like we're
isn't it?
here.
It's the truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's so funny. Like when it comes to plants and stuff, I'm horrible at it. So I'm almost speaking like way outside of my scope because everything that I touch dies when it comes to plants. But in theory, what we said is accurate.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and just like your studio behind you and where you are, you know, and because I've heard your story of how that began and how it started and what it's now grown into. It
Mhm.
didn't, I don't, from what I know, it didn't sound like you pushed it. It just kind of became,
Yes, absolutely
right?
organic.
Right.
And as I try and grow things well, not fast.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's beautiful. And I think that's where I'm headed to. And I all just want to preface with being a business owner and a studio owner, we all, no matter if you're big studio, small studio, multiple studios, my goodness, there's a certain amount of drive and push we have to have.
we
But
have to have.
I think over time that can be, it's just not healthy, you know, and I think we're, I don't want to, well, I'll just say what I want to say.
Sure.
We are in a world right now that it feels, and it's just my perception, that there's a lot of uh, attention given to those that are just doing all the time, producing this, doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Look at me do this, and look what I've got, and look what I've got, and it can be exhausting. Not everyone resonates with that,
No.
and I don't know if that's always a measure for success for, you know, for what it looks like to be successful. Some people just need
Yes.
to slow down and
Hmm.
pull back, and you
It's
know,
true.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. A friend of mine had a post this morning talking about leadership.
Mm.
And what he was saying is that we're in social media, we are leaders because people are looking at us. So how do we leverage that? And the point I'm making with that is,
Uh,
yes, we see people driving and pushing their business and look how much they're producing and look at this new workshop and look at this new class and look at this and look at that. We also have the opportunity to define what success looks like. So
Absolutely.
when I'm very intentional, I may have a post where I'm just like working super hard, and then you'll see a post of me reading a book because I want the mindset to be like this brand two times you says, like rest is training. Your work is only as good as your rest. Your rest is part of the strategy to move your business forward.
Yeah.
So if people only see me in front of my computer and then in front of a client and then online and just move and never see me driving my car, sleeping, like, like hanging out with my kids, I want them to see those pieces as well because that is as much my training and my success as that I just signed another client or look, I have 50 people going to this workshop. I think we have the opportunity as leaders to define what work looks like, what success looks like, and not let it get swept away in this grind, don't stop mindset.
I agree completely. And yeah, Stacy, it is the, you know, as Mr. Pilates said, the balance of work, rest, and play. And are we all, you know, really welcoming that? And it takes practice to do. It takes practice for some of us to rest.
Yes.
It really honestly takes practice for some people to rest. And some of our constitutions are such that we have to learn how to do that. And it's okay.
Yes.
It's a skill. Some people rest really well and they need to rev up on the other parts. You know, some of us need to do the other. So, but I agree with you, Martin, about being leaders, and that is, and also for like our generation and the viewers that are here now and that will watch this, but for who's below us in terms of like children and
Yes.
young people, you know, younger teachers out there that are learning what is it to have a good rhythm of business, and
Yes. I like
is the
that.
rhythm supposed to be churn and burn, produce, because I don't want to resonate that to anybody. I don't think that
Yes.
that's healthy. I think anyone watching now or later, don't do that to yourself. You could burn out and you might
Yes.
lose the focus of really who you are and how you want to show up in your work.
For sure.
Um,
And the greatest casualty is a loss of passion for the work itself,
yeah.
right? Because we could make
Mm,
six figures like, punching data entry all day if we wanted to, but we decide to go this way because we like it. And then you get in it and then you start this hustle and then you become bitter at the thing that you wanted to do for fun, right? So
yeah.
when you start to see people lose their passion for the work, that's the thing that kind of breaks my heart. And it's like, hey, you know what?
Mm,
You need to just stop, unplug, give yourself permission to rest. Give
right.
yourself give yourself the permission to rest and not worry about what people think.
Right. Right.
And find like yeah, like say saying that ebb and flow. Like I
Uh,
love it. I wrote that down. The rhythm of business. Like find that rhythm.
yeah, and then that rhythm is going to change. We know that too. It's not always
Mhm.
going to be like, hey, slow, like,
Yeah.
that's not what I'm saying at all. What I want to say is you just embrace that feeling of just sitting in what you've just the being of it, and like what you were
Yes.
saying at the beginning of that you took the weekend to be with your family. And someone else I know said she took all day yesterday off, which was different for her, and she just
Yes.
did nothing. And I'm like, well, what do you mean nothing? And she's like, nothing. I'm like, how did it feel? And she went, great. And
Yeah.
I'm like, all your emails are still there Monday morning, no? And yeah, so
Right.
it's all right. It's all
Yeah.
right. It's all gonna, and then we might have more energy to address those emails today, or
Yeah, for sure.
you know, we need to
That's
restore ourselves and
yes. That's
God,
great.
pour back in some restoration
Hmm.
and anyway.
So what are you up to now? I mean, that's great. You sound like you're in a really, really good spot.
I am.
Whether or not you have good and bad days in it, generally speaking, it sounds like you're in a good
Yeah,
headspace.
thank you. I am, and yeah, I feel like so I have a new little workspace that I've found that's just beautiful. Some people have seen it. I've done a few little posts. My Instagram posts, guys, are not great. I'm not really good at like, I just put random stuff up there, which I would like to get a little bit better at organizing my Instagram feed. But this space is gorgeous because it's tiny.
Hmm.
It's bright. It has, so like this, where I'm in this guest room of my house, there's windows all here and there. Same with my studio. It's this new space, which is interesting. It's got windows just like this room. So the
Amazing.
sun comes in and just feeds me. The light is just amazing.
Love it. Yeah.
So it's private practice. I see some clients in there. I do my Zooms in there a lot of the time, or here. And I'm just slowly waiting for clients to feel like the former clients that were in on the regular in person. I'm just
Hmm.
waiting for them to feel safe enough to come in. If they do, great. If they don't, great. I have to just go. I have older clients, so some of them just don't feel safe coming back out.
Right, right.
And I've created a space that's safe. It's, windows open, 6 feet of space between all of the parameters. But some of them have gotten really used to this shift in their life, which
Hmm.
is they don't want to hustle out and drive their car and do parking and walk around. And okay, I have to honor that. But
Yes.
where I'm going next is really trying to find ways to get more movement to our caregivers in this world.
Nice.
And many of my friends know this. It's been on my list, my long list of my vision list for years. And so now the blessing in all of this transition, this unscheduled time for me is it's time to do this because it's in here. I'm ready.
Yes.
Yeah, to provide wellness and movement classes for we have two different kinds of caregivers in the world. There's paid caregivers like nurses,
Yes.
CNA, like they get a paycheck for their work. And then there are the unpaid caregivers, family and friends,
Hmm.
and how to really give wellness classes, Pilates, yoga, restoration, breathing techniques, meditation to family caregivers because
Yes.
they're in fight or flight almost all the time. So
Yes.
that's where I'm streaming. I'm going into that because I have a lot of expertise in in that direction, in that category. Long story there. I don't need to go there today, but
Mhm.
I have a gift to give them. I know that. So
Yes.
time for me to share it.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
they need to recharge and there's not a lot of time. Like they don't have the luxury that you just mentioned where they could stop for a week or unplug for a month to recharge that battery and go back. you just have to almost like a plane in the air, just refuel while you're still flying.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good. That's good, Martin. Yeah. How do you do that?
How do you do that?
How does a plane recharge? You know what I mean?
Yes,
While they're
yes.
still flying. It's
Well, it takes a lot of help, right? I mean, you've seen those big, huge planes, and the plane flies alongside it, and they set it up and refuels and keeps it going.
right.
It's possible, but it takes a lot of coordination. It takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of steady. Like you just doing with that analogy, I just hear that now that you're saying that we need to come alongside these people while they're still moving and give them some opportunities to recharge
Yeah.
while they're still on the go.
Yeah. Yeah. And teach them that they too matter. So like a family
Yes.
caregiver, yeah, the person who's like on the front line in their family, let's say it's the
Mhm.
spouse of the person that has the ailment,
Yes.
whether it's terminal or not, that immediate person is
Yeah.
yes, I am. Who just asked that question?
I meant just about like how do we make it accessible to them if they can't afford
Oh,
bodies?
find me personally, because I have a whole thing about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got some tears and love. Well, exactly, because a lot of people that are in caregiving situations can't afford what we, our private stuff. That's fine. Don't you
Yes.
worry. I've got a way. Um, it really matters. So the person on the front line doesn't have. They say they don't have the time. They say they
Hmm.
won't have the energy. There's a whole list of questions that you generally come out, and it's all true. So how to find ways to get to them that's accessible,
Right.
and just encourage them because they do matter. They matter more than they think they do.
Yes, they do. And and to the point that Emmett's making there about how much they can afford it, I would guess to say that the biggest obstacle isn't finances, it might be guilt.
Yeah, there's that. It's also time.
Time.
It's
That's
time
pulling
because
away from, go ahead. Yeah,
their duty. Well, it is. It's
duty.
kind of time, and maybe the obligatory feeling of I
Yes.
can't. Yeah, exactly what you said. Guilt maybe is I don't know if I can go. I don't have an hour. I need to go. Blah blah blah. And
Mhm.
yeah, the person that's needing the care definitely needs the care, but the person that's giving the care needs the care. 125%. They're going to feel more. I've watched it and I've lived it. So this is part of, you can feel my energy shift when I talk about this. This is really big for me. Um,
Yeah.
because they will have more fuel in their tank when they go back and they help pick up the person or go run the errands for that or do that. They will have more. And unfortunately, if the person dies at some point, we're all going to pass at some point. We have to keep going on. We have to keep living.
Yeah.
So we have to prepare ourselves kind of now before then. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Right.
yeah, there's
That's a
more on this
tough.
topic.
There's so much more in this topic because I know that that's a hard conversation to have. Like, how do you actually convince someone that this is what they need right now?
Yeah.
Like Misty just said right there, they feel like they need permission. Like, how do we
Yes.
give them that permission? How do we, I mean, because I had to say it to you, but you need to hear that from the inside out. I have permission to give myself a half an hour a week, even
Yeah.
as a start, right? Like,
Yeah. Right. It can sometimes be just that, or even a 5 minute lesson on, wow, I need to take a deep breath. I don't even know how to do that. And look for or be invited in
yes,
to a community where there's many of us over here going, we can help you. I don't
yes,
know. I have lots of friends who have been hearing my idea for years and have said, Amy, I'll help. Tell me what you need. And I don't know
yes,
yet because I haven't put enough time to develop it, but I'm doing it now.
yeah,
And I think sometimes that is just, finding the people who need the care, giving you know, and giving it. What's wrong
yes,
with giving it? We don't have to get paid for it all the time.
right.
I mean, of course I want that, but I also kind of want to give a lot, give a lot. It's,
Hmm.
uh, because what if that's what they need? What if that's the limitation? I can't afford it. I feel guilty. And then if it's
Yes.
just a gift, hey, you don't have to pay me anything.
Hmm.
Receive this.
Right.
They need to learn how to receive. I don't know. There's probably a lot that I'm missing here, but
It's still fun to talk it out.
it is. It's important to talk it out. Yeah.
Like we don't
Anyone
have to
can.
have everything solved by, in the next 20 minutes. We can just talk
Thank
it
goodness.
out. Right. I know. But that's just it. And we are rich. You have 19 years of experience owning a studio and seeing so many people cross,
Oh,
come to the threshold of that building,
mm.
plus your own learning, plus this, plus that. We are so rich with what we have to give. It's fine. I mean, like every business coach cringes at the thought of giving something away for free, but
Yeah, I think, yeah, I know, right? That's kind of weird. I don't know. It's like I look at that differently. I do. I think it's going to be something that at first when I was kind of cultivating, there's the word again, the ideas,
Mhm.
a lot of it came up of free. Like
Yep.
we do free things on the internet all the time. It's a
Yes.
way to be. It's an invitation, I think, at that point.
Mhm.
And whether someone receives the invitation and accepts it, that's not really up to me. It's like
Yep.
the plant. If I go back and water my little seed, if it decides to grow for me, all right, I'm going to
Yep.
take a look and go, oh, she's growing today.
Right.
Nice. Maybe a little more sun over there. But it's an invitation that needs to be received on the other side. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, and that's great because and what happens too is the more you talk it out, the more that we have these conversations, the more people hear your vision. Like if this is something that's been in you forever and
yes,
you haven't been able to shake it yet, and now there's space to do it, there's going to be someone who hears that and says, okay, I have no time to give. I love what you're doing. Here's some money to make sure that you're not out of pocket while helping them. And people start to come alongside you in that way.
yeah,
Right. I mean, so the more it's out there, you'll be surprised who comes out of the woodwork and is that person that feeds this and helps to cultivate it. More people come in and cultivate it. It's still accessible for the person who needs it, but then
right,
you're not suffering at the same time, not suffering, but you're the one who's not actually,
yeah,
it's not free in that sense, right? Like, so
right.
there's so many things that come out of that, but I love when we lead with that giving, that selfless giving, everything else works out
I
on the
agree.
back end of it, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think so. I think too. It might not have. I don't know if it was you in the Brink conversation or someone in that weekend. I think or near there because I was talking about business development and people call me and mentor with me a lot too on this. So kind of quietly, like not big.
Yes.
I don't promote that much, but I do a lot of mentoring, kind of privately. And I asked this person a question like, "What do you really need out of your work? How much
Yes.
money do you really need to make?" And they went, I've never really thought about it like that. Like, oh, that might be a nice place to start or an opportunity to start. Like, what do you really need? And that's
Yes.
kind of basics, like what's your budget
Mm-hmm.
versus what do you want? And are you, how much time do you want to go from here to there?
Yes.
That's like with any business project, I think we get to go, what do I need to get
Mm-hmm.
this started versus what do I want it, out of it. And if we do what's needed, just kind of be with what's needed, it's going to most likely grow pretty organically because that intention is with it. And,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I shared a post on that with the core connections with the speed networking the other week, right?
Oh,
And
I'm so bummed I missed that.
yeah, that's okay. We'll do another one next
I
quarter.
hope so. Yeah, I was out of
Yes.
town for now. Yeah.
It's so, and that was an example of something that I did for free,
Hmm.
right? And I paid, I'll be full disclosure, it's $100 US to get that platform per month, right? So I just got it for the 1 month and I just cancel it. That's it. So $100.
Yeah.
And then I made it a fundraiser for John Claude Nelson, the orphanage that his family has. So we
Right.
raised money there. And then I put it out to people who wanted to sponsor. And then they paid for a sponsorship spot. So now I made enough money on the sponsorships to cover the monthly the subscription. So I'm not out of pocket for the actual subscription. We
Hmm.
raised almost £200, so that's 200 and how many dollars?
more. Yeah.
more than that, which doesn't sound like it's a massive amount of money. But the thing that I thought was awesome is that there were 16 people that gave to put that money in. So it's not the dollar amount; it's the number of people who are engaged in it. So
Right.
then there's a cycle of me doing something for free, and then people coming in after and saying, I want to sponsor this, and don't say free, how much do you need? And then me turning around and asking people, give to this, and all the money's going to go to there. So there's a cycle of everyone got fed,
Right.
starting from a place of wanting to help somebody.
Right.
So I just strongly believe that even with what you're doing there, Amy, that as you're building this out, and for anyone who's watching who has a vision to do something to help people, start from the helping people place and just watch how everything else starts to fall in place to make it happen.
Yeah.
That's truly cultivating something that's going to grow, right? So
Yeah, I agree, and that's beautiful. That's so beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with that kind of business development either. That's a whole way of developing business. It's just different, you know.
it is different. Yeah.
It is different, and it's I don't know. There's just a sensitivity in it, and then I think that's good to also be reminded of. It doesn't always have to be so. I don't know. Anyway, by the book.
Right, exactly. And,
Yeah.
and that can be wildly successful. Like that can be profitable too,
Mhm.
right? Like you don't have to starve in the middle of that. Like that, if you're really open to it, that can grow. That can be a viable business model.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. Good. A lot of things come out of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So where are we at with that now? So like have you started to do those classes and on a small
Yeah.
scale at this point, or?
Yeah, so there are a couple people that I'm networking with that are caregiving type of networking on Facebook, and my first kind of idea and what I would like to do is just do a class for this particular on this. It's a private Facebook group for caregivers, and just give them a class to say here, you know, try it,
Yes.
and it'll be you know, because caregiver this gets a little deep, but some of the approach that caregivers need lots of things. They need, oh boy, this is a big list, but they need obviously to learn how to be, you know, in their body, strong.
In their
If they
body,
have to
yes.
if they're lifting their person or doing transfers, clearly need to learn strength, ergonomics, all of that. There's an emotional piece and the quiet piece to learn, giving them meditation, give them some breath technique. So the classes I want to offer will be kind of a blend of here's some core exercises, some strengthening bits, but here's also some quiet time and some a 5-minute breath sequence to just, if you're feeling really accelerated with anxiety, you can put this in your pocket and have it with you forever.
Yes.
A way to breathe, to just pull it down. And I'm working with our local hospice of Santa Barbara. That is such an amazing organization here, but they have different offerings for people that are in grieving process, whether it's grieving pets or grieving people. Not necessarily even death related, but maybe it's somebody that just is really, you know, sick, not necessarily terminal.
Yes.
Ways to manage their stress. So I've been kind of working with them to try to get in to offer this class for their community of family caregivers.
Yes.
So that the family caregiving individuals can go, oh, I want a movement class. Oh, wow, there is one. Ooh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a conversation that's happening there. They're so busy. They do so much here that it's hard. We're having a little challenge getting it started, but those are the two that I'm starting with. So I got to start somewhere.
Amazing.
You know? Yeah. And I'm working on a book.
That's gonna be
Slowly,
awesome.
you know?
Yeah. Enjoy the process, right? Like
Yeah,
you figured that piece out.
I'm not
Yeah.
pushing myself. I'm just like a little bit every day. I do a little writing toward a book. So it's
Yes.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
How did you find Pilates like in the first place? Like what got you into this whole Pilates world?
Oh my gosh, I was a dancer.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Did all of that. Yeah. So in college, our modern dance technique class teacher brought in one of our local Pilates teachers who had just gotten certified or trained through the Boulder School. So I was in Colorado at that point. And his name was Gary Calderon. He's still teaching, I think. And I think he had just graduated from the Boulder School like 2 years before that. Started his own studio in Fort Collins, came into our dance class and gave us 3 weeks of mat work. And I loved it, but also it was really, some things were really hard for me, which still are hard for me. I have a pretty straight spine and I'm still learning on how to move it well, but he kind of pulled a few people apart to, hey, you want to demonstrate this exercise? You want to demonstrate this one? And I was having some trouble with rolling like a ball and open leg rocker. That one came easier for me because I'm flexible, but still couldn't roll. And neck pull. And of course, neck pull without an ankle strap is almost impossible for a lot of people.
Yes.
Anyway, he said, I looked at him and I go, how come I can't do these? How come I can't, what, and he, you know, good salesman, why don't you come into the studio to find out? So that was all, that was the invitation that I needed.
Yes.
And I did. I went to the studio. They needed a front desk girl. I took a front desk position for like a $5 an hour trade. I worked 10 hours a week and I got one private lesson with one of their apprentices.
Okay.
And that was how that started. And the other times I would just sit and just watch Pilates happen and observe. And that observation process was so poignant and just, it just hit me. I said, this is where I'm going to be a teacher of this work someday. And became a student and volunteered to be their little body anytime they needed a practice student. And it just made sense. It's such powerful work. And I'm still working on neck pull. I can do it with an ankle strap and if I'm really warm, but forget it. If I'm on just on the floor, no way. Yeah.
That's a great story. And as much as I've heard that so many times before, that someone just like, they were introduced to it, they went to a studio, they just lived in the studio, they watched, they learned, they were volunteered to be a body, they taught before they were ready, they took more courses, they did the whole thing. And isn't it funny that if you were to log on and subscribe for someone like Gary Vee or one of these like high octane like business coaches, they say you want to get into the field, you got to sign up with this person, you got to sit under them, you got to grind, you got to work, you got to listen to them, take every course. That's what you did.
Oh, it definitely did. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like the formula doesn't change.
No, it doesn't change. No, it doesn't change at all. And it's immersion, I think. It's
immersion is the
in,
word.
Immersion in I just have so many wonderful memories of being at that little desk. It was very tiny. It was a brand new studio. They didn't have a lot of, and I would just hear Pilates.
Yes.
I'd hear the springs moving. I would hear the cues. I would hear the questions from the students and the clients. I would hear that reformer move, the bar moving, like that part of hearing it, but also watching. It was just, complete immersion. And then just the spirit in the room and what we know Pilates, the spirit comes from us when we're really having a breakthrough of a sensation that's so alive in us, like it's resonant, it's a vibration that you feel that. And so that's what my first, exposure was, which was memorable and unforgettable. And I love that. And I think, I hope that happens for other people too, that way. I think it does. I think that's how we all end up becoming teachers.
For sure. It looks different, but it does sound like that. That's such a wonderful word picture. That's exactly, that's a really lovely way to put it. Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking in my head. Like, I heard everything you just said. I just saw everything you just said. Like, someone sitting and getting ready for short boxing, putting their feet in and hearing the strap click as they get ready to start. And like, I just caught all of that.
Good. Yeah. That's how it's vivid, right? It's vivid. And even hearing like the curtain, the curtain to the dressing room open, the bathroom door shut, I was in it a lot. So yeah, I love it. Sadly, I don't. Oh no. Amit says, sadly, I don't think this happens to most people.
It doesn't, you know, and my conversation with Emmett too was interesting because there's the other side of it
Mm.
where, and he sees this sometimes where people want to, they're at the end of their dance career, for example, and they're like, well, what am I going to do with my life? I know, Pilates,
Oh, I
right?
see.
And so it's not a transition that's fueled by a passion for the work. It's a transition fueled by, well, I'm bendy, so I can do this.
Oh,
So let's just try, right? Like,
oh, I see.
um, yeah. And
Pardon.
then, right, so then are they diving into, are they diving in, are they doing, is there that immersion in some way, shape, or form,
I see.
right? Yeah,
Right.
so yeah, there you go. Sorry, so about the teacher training. So
Oh, yeah. Oh, so I'm gonna, can I add on to that? I like this a lot, and
absolutely.
I will. Okay, so the Pilates Center of Fort Collins was 2 years old, I think, when I started my observation and my, I'm gonna call it an apprenticeship because that's really where I was kind of lined into being an apprentice there. They then started their teacher training in-house.
Hmm.
And of course I was like, sure, I'll do it. Like, isn't that the right thing to do?
Yes.
And I got my big manual. I don't want to admit this, but about 4 days, maybe 5 days before the course was about to go live, I
Hmm.
went to the owner, her name is Lisa, and I said, I can't do this. And that did not go over well, mind you, because they had budgeted my seat
Yes.
into this training. I'm getting nervous because I'll admit that I backed out at
Yeah.
like a few days before because I was not ready. I looked through that manual and I'm like, don't know this exercise. I've never seen this thing.
Hmm.
No, I can't do this. I got so nervous. And she didn't like that decision, clearly, because
Right.
she was counting on my seat there and I would be a teacher there and there's revenue off of that. But later it was like, good for you that you didn't do it, and
Yes.
I am proud of that because I then spent most of my 20s learning Pilates, feeling it
Yes.
in
Yes.
me before
Right.
I then said, okay, I want to become a teacher. And I think that journey for lots of people is missed. Amit, I agree with you. I think that maybe isn't how people go about it, which I wish they would too, because I think we become better teachers if we have done
Absolutely.
Pilates for a long time or a little while. So,
Yes.
um, I love Pilates.
Hey, Tracy.
Yeah. So,
That's
right.
that's I'm that's a good spot to end at. I think I'm probably gonna be musing on that for
Okay.
the better part of the week because it's true. There's something. It's almost like you don't want to just be a convert. You want to be a disciple of the work,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
right? Like you want to
Yeah.
just completely dive into it, be immersed. I love your word immersion there, and cultivate.
Immersion.
We have all these good words today. Like
Thank you. Thank you.
yes.
Yeah, use them. Write them. Use them.
Mm,
Thank you, Martin.
this is good. This is a good way
Yeah,
to start the week.
I thank you. I feel that way too. And I think just I love a giving spirit. You're giving all of us an opportunity to come on and talk and be seen in different circles, different social circles, different marketing circles, different business circles. But I think as teachers, we are givers. We all know that. We have giving spirit. And I think that's something just to kind of keep reminding ourselves it's okay to give a little bit, and in that we receive, and that's kind of back to like the doing less and just being more, just
Yes.
expanding that being circle a little bit, and watch what
Yes.
kind of comes in, and that instead of doing so much of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
I'm excited to see how that journey continues for you. Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
yeah. Pilates Fun made a great comment there about being a student for 7 years before before starting his teacher training.
Mm.
And yes, thank you, Stacy.
Yes, thanks
Much love to
everybody.
you. Yes, and Emmett, thank you so much for your comments there too, Emmett. I really appreciate
Yes, I appreciate those two, Emmett. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to sign you off and we are
Okay.
done. Thank you so much. I'll chat with you later.
Okay, Martin, thank you. Have
Okay,
a great day,
you
everybody.
too. Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you,
Yep.
everybody.
Bye. Oh.